Well, good evening and welcome to BBC Two, and this is Two Chaps in Bowler Hats, where we discuss some of the more pressing social issues of the day. I'm here with my old college chum, Andrew Klavan. We crewed together at Eton back before the war. Andrew...
You got to get a name for the show before you crack.
Not going to give up. Not going to give up until we find something I like. I don't know. I always wanted to be a part of a BBC Two talk show.
All right.
Welcome to our show in which we answer your questions, and if you'd like your question answered or considered, you can become a PJTV subscriber or a PJTV Facebook friends. Those people in, everybody else out. And for God's sakes, man, you can join the discussion right there below in the comments section. All right, Andrew, let's get to our question for the day. Right. PJTV member, Left Coast Objectivist, wants our thoughts on Ayn Rand and Objectivism. Shocking conclusion. They write, PJTV has done much to help the promotion of the film version of Ayn Rand's novel Atlas Shrugged in recent weeks. Both of you have offered your own thoughts regarding religion and conservative culture on PJTV and elsewhere. How do you square your opinions with Rand's ideas, particularly as the film attracts more readers to her works?
All right. Well, I've read a lot of Ayn Rand. I think, for me, there are three ways to look at Ayn Rand. Mm-hmm. One is the kind of worshipful, cultic way that some of her followers do.
It's like a religion.
It's like a religion. Every word she said was true, and oh, look, she predicted everything, and it's all coming true. And you know what? There's an element of truth to that. And then, of course, there's the opposite way where you say, oh, she glorified rape, she was selfish, she only cared about money, she had this kind of idea of the powerful man, she worshipped a serial killer and all this stuff. And there's an element of truth to that, too. She was a damaged person in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. For me, what she is very typical of a certain kind of artist philosopher who takes a view that to the rest of us may seem extreme, but in going to that extreme place, she illuminates certain thoughts that lie outside the realm of polite discussion. Among those thoughts, some of the most important of those thoughts are that a person acting for selfish reasons, yet creatively, may do a lot more good than a person acting on the most pious, loving motives. And another idea of hers that I find very powerful is the idea, of course, that trade is one of the few nonviolent occupations of man, while taxing is, in fact, a violent occupation. It's an assertion of force, what she would have called an initiation of force against someone else. And those are really important thoughts that are sometimes lie outside the boundary of what we think of Christian thinking of love your neighbor. What she fails to answer is why we should care at all what's good for society, why we should care at all whether it's better for us to have powerful, creative people or not. And of course, I think her philosophy kind of bottoms out at that point and fails to explain itself. And yet there's a lot there, and a lot, as her followers say, that has predicted what's happened now and the way it's happening too.
Yeah, I think I pretty much agree with you. It seems like I haven't read any of her books, actually. I'm fairly familiar with them, but I certainly understand the essence of the philosophy. I think Ayn Rand took what was, for Adam Smith, sort of an unknown, the invisible hand, people acting in their own self-interest, and really explored and fleshed out exactly precisely how and why that works. And really got into specific examples. I think when you deal with things like the whole going gulp thing, the whole idea that producers finally reach a point where they're treated as a host organism, and when the parasites get on so thick, it's time to just check out and say so long. She has a tremendous ability to understand and focus on who the real heroes in society are in terms of who makes the wealth that everybody generates. I think for most people, probably myself included, where you get to the point where it becomes difficult is whether this is actually true of what Rand says or not. Many objectivists are accused of an attitude that's basically, yeah, the baby's lying in the street starving, sorry, not my problem. If I start taking care of that baby, the whole system falls apart. That kind of ability to say that, yes, self-interest is important, and yes, self-interest indeed does create all of the wealth and the wonder of the world, doesn't, I think, mean that acting outside of self-interest is inherently bad. And a lot of Randians I've run into online kind of take that position.
Well,
you know? How dare you help that baby?
Yeah, they take the extreme position. I mean, one of the things that I think it's Thomas Sowell who says this, is that when liberals talk about spreading the wealth around, they're coming into the middle of the conversation. They forgot the part of the conversation where we say, where does that wealth come from? And Ayn Rand answers that question with a vengeance, you know. It's the vengeance part of it, or as you say, the extremist part of it, that I think, that I actually think doesn't make logical sense, because it doesn't answer the question of why we should care about the creation of wealth and why we should care about what's best for society. And I've read quite a lot of her, and she never does answer that question, and you can kind of trip her up that way on her own language. However, it does illuminate things, and I think that's true of a lot of philosophers.
Yeah, I think she's a tremendous addition to Western culture, a tremendous voice for so many of the individual freedoms, putting aside the economic argument, such a voice for individual freedom, individual responsibility, all of the things that actually make this stuff work. She really is a superb cheerleader and champion of those ideals. But I think I'll just close by saying that, as you mentioned at the beginning, we can't let our obsession with mortal people elevate them to the status of godhood, and we do occasionally see that sometimes with people who are that influential.
Well, forget our humanity in the search for success. Yeah.
How many millions of people out there worship me as a god on the earth?
It's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. It's a cross that we have to bear. Yeah. And if you're one of those people, I'll send you an address you can send the checks to, and also the children and the chickens and the potatoes and all the other stuff that should be coming my way. That's all we have time for today. Let us know what questions you'd like answered next time. You can leave your questions in the comment section below. Remember, got to be a PJTV member or a Facebook friend. For Andrew Klavan and PJTV, I'm Bill Whittle. Thanks for watching.